This is the story of a man who spent his whole life working the same land his father did. A good man, or at least he used to be. Used to be a good man, would lend a helping hand whenever he could. First one there when a neighbor was down, the kind of soul that made a small town proud. But the bottle of rye became his friend at night and slowly stole the kindness from his eyes. His smile faded like an old fence line as bitterness took root over time. He'd tip his cap at the feed store door, then leave before saying a word more. Folks shook their heads as he'd drive away, saying, "Oh, Miller ain't the same these days." His wheat stood thin in the summer sun, his irrigation barely seemed to run. The fields turned yellow where green should have been, but nobody knew just how bad it'd been. Then late one June when the sky turned black, a twisting storm came tearing through the bag. Lightning struck the old oak tree and dropped a live wire across the prairie. The fire spread fast through the dry wheat rows, with a hot wind pushing where nobody knows. Smoke choked the stars, flames lit the sky, and fear rode in with the midnight cry. The sirens screamed, but the flames moved fast, and Miller's farm might not have lasted when the town came running through smoke and pain, fighting that fire across the grain. Headlights cut through the ash and haze, tractors rolled through the burning blaze. Water tanks rattled, engines roared, every farmer answered the call. They carved fire breaks through the burning field, refusing to let the fire claim it all. Side by side in the orange glow, fighting for a man they barely knew. Two young men lifted his wife from her wheelchair and carried her safely through the burning air. They beat back the fire through the dying wheat, worked through exhaustion, smoking heat. And when the fire finally lost the fight, they saved his home before the morning light, saved most of the crop he'd been praying for, and kept those flames from reaching his front door. And Miller stood there with tears in his eyes, watching angels beneath those smoky skies. As the story spread in the weeks that came, the town learned more than they'd known. His name as well had nearly run bone dry. His irrigation was crippled and tired, the crops were failing, the debt stacked high, and he'd been trying to survive. That whiskey wasn't what broke the man, it was losing ground he couldn't stand. The bottle became the place he'd hide from all the hurt he kept inside. So the farmers gathered and made a plan to help their struggling neighbors stand. They brought in rigs and they dug down deep, searching for water beneath the creek. They fixed the pivots, repaired the lines, got fresh water flowing right on time. And when the summer finally gave way, green rose returned across the plain. By harvest time, those fields stood tall, golden waves rolling wall to wall. He paid the bank what he truly owed and covered the bills from the long hard road. where the church bells ring and neighbors still mean everything. Yeah, we judge people by what we see without knowing their story or history. Sometimes a smile disappears from pain. Sometimes a heart gets lost in the rain. Take a little time, learn somebody's pain, and don't judge the soil till you look at the rain. Look at the rain.